What is going on, everybody? We are here live with NASCAR by the numbers. You got your boy Will, NASCAR opinion. You got Armani over there wearing whatever Armani is wearing right now. I think is that an Alonso shirt?
Hell yeah, Fernando Alonso. Got it at the IMS museum the IMS airport a couple months ago when I was living in Indiana. Literally got the hat and got the shirt. $10.
Nice. Yeah, I watched the Formula One race a little bit last week, and I watched a little bit of it this morning. And I'm not going to lie, there's things I'm like learning quickly. I'm not going to be like a full-blown I'm watching F1 every single weekend kind of guy, but it's pretty interesting into learning things. And like there's already drivers that know they're out of rides for next year. And I know Alonso's coming back to Formula One next year. It's pretty wild. I'm starting to realize just how big a deal Fernando Alonso is. Like I knew he was, but I'm starting to actually understand it.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso. He's a big deal Formula One wise, but ever since he came to the Indy 500 in 2017, he just skyrocketed.
Right. So one thing we were going to talk about today, because obviously this is NASCAR by the numbers, as much as we want to talk a little bit of F1 or IndyCar, which I think IndyCar is coming on here soon. I think NHRA is back today. There's a bunch of motorsports today that are going on. But the big thing we were going to talk about today is we were going to do what we're calling like a track draft. It's kind of not really a draft. We're not really doing this and that, but me and Armani have went through and thought about this the other day, and we're going to list 5 tracks that we would like to add to the Cup Series schedule. And then in return, we're going to talk about 5 tracks we will take off the schedule. Now, the way we did this is the tracks we're taking off the schedule, we're acting like we're completely taking them off the schedule. Not one race in the spring or the fall. We're taking them completely off the schedule. So we figure we're going to have some fun with that. We got them 1 through 5. I figure we're going to just go 1 through 5, 1 being the track you would most like to see on the schedule. 5 would be, I'd like to see it, but, maybe you don't care less, or it's my 5th most important. The same with to cut. The number 1 track is going to be the number 1 track. We're picking a track right now to take off the schedule. That is what we're taking off. The 5th would be, for me, my 5th track is, I'm going to argue for us to take it off, but I'm not going to lose my mind if it stays on. So with that being said, Mr. Armani, wild man over here. So I'm telling you, I have no clue what this man is going to say. He's liable to tell you that he's going to add Rainbow Road to the schedule for Mario Kart. This dog can do anything. So with that being said, Armani, get to your first track. You're adding any track to the Cup schedule. What is it going to be?
All right, first track I'd add to the Cup schedule. Let's go with the track that Formula One goes to in Canada. What is it, like Circuit Gilles Vasquez, whatever it's called?
It's Circuit Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, yes, exactly. Sorry to butcher it. I'm not Canadian. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's a track that I was originally going to say Gateway.
Right.
However, for the track I'd have replaced the Gateway with, I'd have replaced, for Gateway. I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Gilles Vasquez, it's a little bit closer. Probably, why. I don't know exactly where it is in Canada. But again, it's a track NASCAR needs to go, NASCAR needs to, embrace its, market. I'm trying to figure out the words to use it. It needs to embrace the market, outside of the United States. Obviously, Canadian, most sports, they sell out all the time. But I feel like this track will lend itself a little bit better to NASCAR, especially because they got that Formula One market. I think, they could take advantage of that. They also have history at the track, obviously, before. So I'd love to see the Cup cars run there.
Well, here's the funny thing. Me and you did not discuss our list at all together. We didn't plan this together. The number 1 track I have listed is Cirque Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. Top track. And here's why. Not only from what you said, great market. Here's what people don't remember. The Xfinity Series ran there from 2007 to 2012. In the first 4 years of that race, you had Robbie Gordon versus Marcus Ambrose, one of the most iconic races I've ever remembered, where Marcus pretty much turned Robbie. Robbie came back, dumped Marcus, NASCAR black flag, and Kevin Harvick wins the race, even though Robbie Gordon should have won the race. The next year, you have the rain race where Ron Fellows wins in the rain. I think the next year, you had Carl Edwards pass Marcus Ambrose on the last corner of the race. Ambrose had ran a perfect race. It was the number 47 Armor All car. I'll never forget that paint scheme. The last S in the corner, Marcus took a defensive line. He made a mistake. He got onto the rumble strip. The car jacked up in the air, left the entire bottom open. Carl Edwards passes him to win. The next year, Boris Said finally wins a race in NASCAR. That track has created so much craziness. We never got to see the Cup cars there. The fans would absolutely lose their mind every time that NASCAR went there. And I enjoyed it so much that one time I do have the original Formula One game. I sucked at it, but the one track I was ever decent at was Montreal. So me and Armani did not plan this list at all, and we both come up with the top racetrack. I can't even believe this happened. This was not scheduled, folks. But that's my thing. Montreal, Quebec, Canada, it's had so much great history. It's a great racetrack, and it's internationally known. I think, then you never know what does the future could potentially hold. Maybe you could do a Formula One NASCAR doubleheader. You don't know the possibilities. I think that would be massive. I love that racetrack. It provided great stock car racing. I don't know why they quit going there. I'm sure it's ownership and borders and all that kind of stuff. I know it's easier said than done, but I really like there. Well, I doubt we'll match the rest of the way through, but what is your number 2 track? So me and Armani both, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We're probably both saying that wrong, but that's how I'm going to say it here, being a redneck in South Carolina. Gilles Villeneuve. Armani, track number 2.
All right, track number 2. We're going to go – let's go with another road course, Circuit of the Americas. The number one thing I hear about Circuit of the Americas, state-of-the-art facility. I think that would grant very well to NASCAR. Pretty much everyone I've heard that's been there, they said, like, the state-of-the-art facility. Again, it's a road course. Obviously, you add more road courses to the schedule. Everyone's been clamoring for that. I personally might see more road courses than short tracks, but that's just my opinion. It's a staple, the IndyCar and F1 calendar. Good attendance. I think it'll be very good for stock cars, especially that high hill going to turn 1 in the corner. I think that will lend itself great. I think it will really test people's, shifting and braking skills on that track. And if we get Circuit of the Americas on the schedule, it would be the first track, I don't know since when, if not ever, that the top 3 series share on their each schedule. So NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One.
Yep, which is a good choice. I don't know much about that racetrack, but I do know it's starting to gain a little bit more international attention. Formula One obviously goes there. I know they're probably not going to make it this year because of the virus, but I think it's a good track. My second track I put on there, really a popular choice here. The reason I picked this place is, for one, there's a lot of momentum behind this place to be on the Cup to begin with. Also, if you just look at video of it, it looks like a badass short track. Nashville, Tennessee, Fairground Speedway. I just feel like it's a place that would make the fan base really happy. I think it would make the drivers really happy. Classic short track. I really want to go up there and watch a race. I've never watched a race in person or on TV there. I've just seen some clips from YouTube. But the nice short track. It looks like Martinsville, but with banking pretty much. It looks aesthetically, it looks really badass. I think a track that really could put on a good show. I know a lot of people will be really happy with this. I think you could back that place out. So I'm going with Fairground Speedway, number 2 on my list, not only just from a racing standpoint, but I think it carries a lot of positive momentum that maybe one day we could see it on the schedule. What you got for number 2?
I didn't put Fairgrounds on just because, with NASCAR going to the Super Speedway, the Super Speedway is pretty much like, okay, the building works to go to Nashville.
Right.
So, tracks, I didn't really include tracks where, it's like, okay, there's a 90% chance they're eventually going to be on the schedule. So, like Nashville or Gateway. So,
I think Nashville,
okay.
Honestly, Nashville's not looking very good to be on the schedule. So, I will be shocked if they ever go there, but I put it on my list because I would absolutely love it.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, who you got for number 3?
All right, number 3. I'm gonna keep the road course theme going. I'm gonna go with Mid Ohio, the sports car course.
You turning this into the Xfinity Series?
And the Xfinity Series gets to go to all the fun road courses.
Which is true.
Mid Ohio road, obviously a road course again. I'm a big fan of road course. I'm going to be going road course racing soon. Mm-hmm. Established motorsports market. It's called the sports car course. They have great Xfinity races also. The market is fantastic. And, yeah, you can't go wrong. The Xfinity race, like I said, they've been good. I know who won last year. I think it was Cindric won last year. Allgaier. Plenty of good races. So, like I said, I just like to see more road courses on the schedule, and Mid-Ohio is my next one.
All right, my third track. Now, this one I've only known about slightly. I really only learned about this, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Kevin Harvick went down and ran a K&N Series race at Kern County Speedway in California. I think it was a place that Kevin raced a lot when he was coming up. Kern County, it kind of looks like a smaller Rockingham in a way. It's short, medium, definitely a short track, though. Definitely races like a short track. You want to be on the bottom. It has a nice little banking. And I never saw the track until Kevin Harvick ran a K&N race there, and I watched some laps. I'm like, this is a badass little joint right here. We're talking about we need some more short tracks. This would be awesome to have right there. Kern County Speedway, Kern County, California. Also, every short track we have is on the East Coast. If we want more short tracks, we need that more in general. But it would also be awesome to see, let's get the West Coast a short track. Maybe let's get the middle of America a short track. Let's spread that short track hospitality and that short track culture further than just the East Coast. So Kern County Speedway is my number 3 pick. Who you got at number 4?
All right, number 4. I'm gonna go with an easy one, Iowa Speedway. I mean, as of recently, obviously what I said before, but as of recently, it says they don't look like they're going to be on the schedule. I think that's a major mistake. Again, short track. Kind of like a little bit of a longer Richmond, except, with, more worn out surface, is going to lend itself more to tire wear. Multiple lanes, which I think the multiple lanes at Iowa actually works better than Richmond. Staple the NASCAR schedule. The trucks go there. The Xfinity Series goes there twice, obviously not this year. And obviously, even IndyCar goes there also. They have a race. They have a night race there. I think it deserves, out of any track you could think of, maybe besides Gateway or Circuit of the Americas, I think Iowa is the one that deserves a cup race the most. People talk about attendance. I think they'd sell out there no problem. It's a good attendance, multi-groove racing, and it's in the Midwest, which, again, I feel like NASCAR, if they want to, they need to expand their Midwest market just a little bit more. But that's going to come into the tracks that I have, I have them replacing. Or I'm going to talk about Midwest, a little bit more talk about that. So my number 4 is Iowa Speedway.
My number 4 pick, out of nowhere, Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. You already talked about it. Dude, I went back. I have never watched a race at COTA. I've never watched a lap at COTA. I could not tell you what it looks like. But this morning I decided, it came to my mind, because a tease for something later, there may be a road course I would take off the schedule. But obviously I was thinking, if I'm going to take one off, I'm definitely going to replace it. And as much as the Roval has been a cool idea, and maybe even one more Roval somewhere else would be a cool idea, I really want NASCAR to add an internationally known road course that gets respect for being an internationally known road course, a legitimate road course. And what a perfect place to do this here in America. There's a big market down there. I'm pretty certain they say there's a lot of fans that come to that F1 race every year in Texas when they do have it. I don't know if they sell out, but I imagine it's pretty close. I think it would be really unique. It gives NASCAR maybe, again, we mentioned the opportunity, maybe do a doubleheader with Formula One. I mean, we've seen IndyCar, NASCAR start dabbling. How wacky and unique would it be for Formula One and NASCAR, two polar opposites of racing, to merge on one weekend, the same garages, the same fans? I mean, that would be epic. But I went and watched a qualifying lap from Lewis Hamilton last year, and I was nervous. I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I was like, what is this man doing? I think it's turns like 7 or 4 through 7, whatever the S's are there. These dudes don't even hit the brakes. I mean, they're just going. I'm like, this dude is going to go off the track, and he nailed it, of course, won the pole, because that's what Lewis Hamilton does. But, I was nervous watching the onboard of him do a qualifying lap. Really technical racetrack, very flat racetrack for the most part. I know there's a big hill. That turn 1 would be epic to watch. There's a couple hairpins there that you're like, I want to see 40 stock cars try to make that on the first lap. I do think it could get a little spread out, not going to lie. That could be the one knock, is NASCAR tends to get spread out on road courses. Definitely could get a little spread out, but those restarts would be epic. I think drivers would struggle the first time or two there just trying to get that track down, because it's it would instantly be the most technical track on the Cup schedule. And so, me and you thinking a little bit alike there when it comes to road courses. Circuit of the Americas. Round it out. Who do you have at number 5?
All right, number 5. I got IRP. The track that everyone wants to go to, everyone and their grandma wants to go to for the Cup Series schedule, maybe besides Nashville and North Wilkesboro. Short track, NASCAR's roots, I guarantee you they pack the grandstands, keeps it in the Indiana market, which I think, NASCAR needs to stay in the Indiana market. Besides Charlotte's the biggest market, in the United States for auto racing. Beating and banging, classic short track racing. I don't remember a lot of, what is it, like the Xfinity Series, I think, used to go there. I don't remember a lot of races from there.
Xfinity used to go there.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of races there personally, but I think it'd be a great market for NASCAR. Again, you keep it in NASCAR's roots. You add more short tracks to the schedule. Keep tuning in a little bit later. Obviously, you're going to know what track I'm going to replace to it if you can put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, IRP, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
All right, number 5 for me. By the way, great pick there. Number 5 for me was more about deserving than necessarily my favoritism to be on the schedule, because I would have probably leaned more your direction with like an IRP. I don't know as much about, Gateway. I've only watched a handful of races because Cup really hasn't gone there. And, Gateway, I think, is going to probably get a date. They probably deserve a date. But the most deserving track that needs to get a Cup Series date is Iowa Speedway. Iowa has to be on the list. The racing at Iowa is iffy at times. That we've seen some great races, but there's also been some races where they're kind of just riding around, but you're going to get that in any racetrack. Restarts at Iowa would be epic. To see drivers be able to use the bottom, middle, and sort of the topish a little bit on a short track is pretty epic. I think they could definitely put on a show, but just from a deserving standpoint, Iowa's been around. It was built to eventually one day hold a Cup race. They've kind of dangled a Cup race in their faces for years. Financially, it's struggling without a Cup race. I think that would be a market where we talked about short tracks in different markets. You're in the Midwest. Debatable if I consider Iowa a straight up short track. I kind of put it with Richmond, where they're short tracks, but they don't necessarily always race like a short track. But we've seen some great races there. Whether it's people dive bombing 3 and 4 on the final lap trying to win the race, whatever it is. But Iowa Speedway is my top 5. So go back over your 5. I go back over my 5, and then we'll get to which tracks we're cutting.
All right, so tracks I got adding. Number 1, IRP. Number 2, Circuit of the Americas. I'm not doing them in order, by the way. Number 3, Montreal. Number 4, Mid-Ohio. Number 5, Iowa.
All right, mine, I've got Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Canada. So we have that the same. Fairground Speedway, Kern County Speedway, and then me and Armani also agreed on the final 2, Circuit of the Americas and Iowa Speedway. So I guess since you kicked off who we're going to add, I'll kick off who we're cutting. First track I'm taking off the schedule is Kansas Speedway. It's another cookie cutter. We got 2 dates there. Even with 1 date there, Kansas has always been the track that you look at the schedule and you say, fantastic, we're going to Kansas this week. So I'm going to take that off the schedule. Sorry, Clint Boyer fans, but Tornado Alley is getting off the schedule. We would not be going to Kansas Speedway.
All right. Well, I actually got Kansas Speedway on my list too. I got a little bit more on my list here for tracks I'd remove than add, just because the ones that we add we don't really have a lot of information on. So one thing I took into account is Jeff Gluck's poll. So I took the top 5 Kansas races from Jeff Gluck's poll. They average at about 76%, which is about average. It's a fairly solid. Its highest was at 90%. It was race 1 in 2019, which that was one of the best races of the year. But its lowest out of all of those was a 66% in race 1 in 2018. And in that poll, 6 races under 75%. So for the most part, Kansas isn't really that good of a track. Which out of those 6 races, the highest is a 72, the lowest is a 50% as race 2 of 2018, which is the one that Chase Elliott won. Which Chase Elliott winning a race and being 50% is kind of odd. Right. And if you were to average all the Kansas races on the poll, 68.25%. That's not good. Kansas isn't really a big NASCAR market. Again, it's an average 1.5 miler. In my opinion, it's the most cookie cutter of the 1.5 miles. There is literally nothing special about Kansas. At least Texas. Texas, as shitty as it is, it's got the turns 1 and 2. Same thing with Kentucky. No matter how crappy it is, it's got 3 and 4. Chicagoland, it's kind of like Kansas, but it's got the back straightaway isn't really straight. You got to do a little bit of a corner.
It's the cookie cutterist to the cookie cutters.
Exactly. So yeah, we agree. Kansas Speedway. Sorry, Boyer, but get it off.
And the thing is, I think, and I could be wrong about the Midwest, and I think there's clearly a racing market in the Midwest, but out there I know there's a lot of dirt racing that goes on there too. Dirt racing I know is huge in the Midwest. I mean, it's huge across the country, but I know the Midwest loves their dirt racing. Number 2 track I'm cutting, you mentioned it there for a second, Texas Motor Speedway. Texas used to be a badass mile-and-a-half racetrack. It was bad fast, big banking, could put on a decent race with the right package, just like any sort of a mile-and-a-half track. And then they just flat out ruined it. Turns 1 and 2 are garbage. If you don't have the insides, you're not going anywhere. You can't race. You can't pass. This package just completely ruined Texas. And Texas used to be this bad to the bone little place that it's sort of in its way carved out its own sort of reputation on the schedule. And now unfortunately, it's just another track on the schedule. Is it different than the other cookie cutters? It is. It's a little bit different with the corners being different, but Texas already had been a little lackluster the last decade. Would they change the track and cut the groove and whatever the hell they call it they want to do? They completely ruined it. I would take off Texas right behind Kansas.
Going back a little bit to Kansas, I would have replaced Kansas with Iowa Speedway. I also have Texas Motor Speedway on my cutting off too. Crap product, can't do anything in turns 1 and 2. I think Chase Elliott said it best at like 2019 or 2018. Going back to the Jeff Gluck poll, the highest 5 races polled on there, an average of 60.6%. Yikes. Its highest is a 69%. Nice, not nice. I don't know what you want to say there. Race 1 in 2019, they got a 69%, which Jimmy Johnson won the poll for that race, so, a little bit biased there.
Lower rated than Kansas.
Yeah. And its lowest, a 27%. Race 2 in 2018. In my opinion, it's the second worst mile and a half on the schedule, and the attendance has been piss poor. Now, what would I replace Texas Motor Speedway with? I mean, it's kind of obvious I'd replace Texas Motor Speedway with Circuit of the Americas. It's in the same state. Yeah, exactly. Self-explanatory. So, Texas Motor Speedway, we both agree we'd get that off the schedule as well. Number
3 for me. The fried chicken may be good, but the racing is not. Kentucky would be off the schedule. I know I was trying to fool Armani a little bit when we were talking because I didn't want to give away everything I had. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Kentucky because it is the last new track, and NASCAR fans rarely get new venues. So when you get them, you're like, I'm going to hold on to them for everything I got. And I've always wanted to go to a race in Kentucky. It looks like a very nice facility, a really fun place to watch a race. But the racing there is just rough. When even the Xfinity Series has certain troubles passing, it's a bad sign. When PJ1 is literally the only hope, and even it doesn't help, there's your sign. Kentucky would be off the schedule for me. I mean, I kind of hate it because NASCAR goes there, finally adds, which if it doesn't feel like it's been like 8-9 years since we've been running there now. But I'll keep eating the fried chicken. I'm just not going to sit there and watch the racing. Kentucky would be off the schedule.
Gonna keep in the theme with you, Kentucky.
It's almost like NASCAR fans know what tracks don't need to be on the schedule.
Kentucky. I've been very vocal about this. Kentucky, garbage, crap. Any other word you can think of. Get off the schedule, burn it in the fire. I don't care. That track is my least favorite on the schedule. I hate it so much, even on video games. You can't pass unless lap traffic helps you. PJ1's supposed to help the grooves. They just make the PJ1 in the groove, so then you have to run to the PJ1, then you can't run even on the bottom where they have it. Jeff Gluck's poll, average of 47%.
Ooh.
The lowest is a 23%. I forgot what year that was. Probably somewhere in 2018. I think it's the one Truex won. And its highest was at 81% in 2019, which I guarantee you that's because of the finish, which a little ironic. My favorite finish last year was the Kentucky race, so my least favorite track, having my favorite finish, kind of ironic there. Again, in my opinion,
that race was very lackluster until we got that finish.
Yeah, my opinion, worst track on the schedule. However, it's a decent NASCAR market, good attendance, and it's a cookie cutter mile and a half. Again, you can't do anything in Kentucky. I mean, when we give our picks later today, my pick, he's going to start probably a little bit of a hint. He's going to start somewhere around the front because if you want to win at Kentucky, even the Xfinity and Truck Series, which are arguably better than the Cup Series in terms of product, they still stuck at Kentucky. If the truck stuck at Kentucky, that's an issue.
Yep, that is a problem. Number 4 on my list, because we both agree on Kentucky. Number 4 on my list, most likely the one track that you don't have on your list, or at least a track you don't have on your list. A little bit controversial, and I've kind of been on my island when I've said this. I haven't broadcasted this opinion a ton because I haven't really felt the need to. And this is a track I'm fine if it stays on the schedule. I want to disclaimer that I'm fine if this track were to stay. But got sort of a hot take here. I'm taking Sonoma off the schedule. It's been the one road course. I know Armani's about to lose his mind. It has been a road course that, if you really think about it, has been the most lackluster of the road courses. We haven't had a good Sonoma race in 4 or 5 years. We remember other moments like Ambrose shutting the car off up the hill, but the racing, and maybe it's the package, sort of the drivers are so good there now that it hasn't done anything. The addition of the carousel didn't do anything. Watkins Glen has always been a faster road course, not even trickier because Sonoma's been the most technical track on the schedule. But Watkins Glen, to me, has always been racier. We get better finishes and better product at Watkins Glen. The Roval has been its own unique thing. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. I'm reading the room wrong here. To me, the last 3-4 years, Sonoma has just not been exciting Sonoma because these drivers just don't make mistakes anymore. You can't get side by side a ton there. There hasn't been a ton of passing. It's been all about fuel strategy as of late. And don't get me wrong, I got respect for fuel strategy, but I want road course races to be decided by the best drivers going out. So I saw that look on your face, so I know that is not on your 5. So one, I will let you react to that, and 2, then you can give your next track.
I was not expecting that. I mean, 100% honest with you. Holy crap! I was not expecting that. I'd keep Sonoma on the schedule just because it's a road course. I like the technicality of it. You know, there's one track I don't have on this list, but that's for like another reason or another. I might explain it later on. But to go for my number 4, well, first of all, going back to Kentucky, I would replace Kentucky with Mid-Ohio because Ohio's just right above Kentucky. So that's why I haven't replaced that. Number 4, Michigan International Speedway.
Ooh.
Top 5 Jeff Gluck polls. I believe it's the same as Texas. No, not the same as Texas. It's the same as one of these tracks. Well, it's an average of 60.6%. 5 out of the 8 races on that poll have a 57% or below. This current package, I think my least favorite race last year was the first race at Michigan. And I've been on record saying that race was just an utter embarrassment, not just for NASCAR, but for racing in general. I mean, when Kevin Harvick can't get past Austin Dillon on better tires and a better car because of aero, where he turned into a mini Daytona, mini Talladega, but without, any like the excitement, that race was atrocious. It was an embarrassment. I've seen a couple people say it was a fairly decent race. I don't know what they were smoking that day, to be 100% honest with you. That race was horrendous. The next race, the second race was a little bit better, but again, if NASCAR's keeping this current package, the low horsepower, high downforce, get Michigan off the schedule. It is horrendous. You can argue maybe Auto Club Speedway, but at least Auto Club has a little bit of character. Yeah, they get strung out, but it's not like, they're running just like in a straight up train where they can't do anything. And the attendance has been kind of meh, in all honesty. Its lowest poll was a 38% in August of 2018. Kevin Harvick won that. And its highest was a 74% in August of 2016 with Kyle Larson's first win. Yeah, and what I have that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the track I'd replace Michigan with is Montreal.
So I think that's a good argument for Michigan. I don't have Michigan on my list, but I see the argument for Michigan. I think we actually get a double header there this year. But my 5th and final track, and before I get on, is I want to say the reason I don't have Auto Club, even though I would be fine if Auto Club left, is just the market for Auto Club. Now, if you were to go to like a Kern County, I know that's not in the LA region. I think the LA market is a huge market to keep. And if we get the right package, we can put on a good race at Auto Club. My 5th track on the schedule, I had to keep the same energy. I had to do what I've been doing. Kind of predictable. Indianapolis. Are there tracks that I would physically be okay with before Indianapolis? Yes. Auto Club, Michigan, you name it. Las Vegas, whatever. But I've been preaching for years that I don't think Indianapolis should be on the schedule, at least not every year. I thought of the idea it'd be cool if we treated it like the Olympics. We run the Brickyard 400 every 4 years. That way, instead of a driver having 20 chances to win that race, he has 5 chances to win that race in his entire career. And I think that would just be a badass crown jewel moment is every 4 years we're going to come to this one racetrack and have this race. I think that would be awesome. But Indy is just not raced well lately. You occasionally get these races like last week, and I'm going to say last week was actually a decent event. But things not racing related is what contributes to a good race in Indianapolis. Now, it's not about passing. It's not about racing. It's about if there's going to be a wreck on pit road, are we going to get a few hard crashes? Without the blown tires and the wreck on pit road, that race last weekend may have been the most lackluster racing you were going to get all year long. What made it exciting was at any moment anybody could blow a tire clearly in front of the field, as Denny Hamlin did, that handed Kevin Harvick the race. That race was completely over. Denny Hamlin had the race in the bag because there's nothing you can do to pass. Doesn't matter if your car is faster. And Hamlin blows a tire, obviously hands to Harvick. Indianapolis off the schedule. I'd love to go to a place like IRP. Again, I'm okay if Indy stays. I would like to run it every few years instead of every year, but Indianapolis 5th on my list to cut off the schedule.
Yeah, number 5. Obviously, I also got Indianapolis Motor Speedway also. Jeff Gluck's poll averages a 53.76%, which is, I think, the second lowest behind Kentucky. Its lowest is actually the lowest poll on his poll, 17% for the 2016 running of the Brickyard 400, and its highest being a 72.8% in 2018, the one where Brad Keselowski won, which I think that was the best Brickyard 400 of this decade. The attendance has dropped. I mean, it's kind of obvious it's dropped significantly. Yeah,
we're talking about 200,000 people less that come to the racetrack.
Yeah. You could argue, oh, they bring the same amount, you know, like Kentucky brings, like, you know, Darlington brings. Those places pack out. But if you're looking at that thing on TV, you really going to want to explain to someone. Yeah, you really want to explain to someone, oh, it's because it's, you know, more seats, this and that.
If you would have never told me they were purposely not running with fans last weekend, I would have never noticed a difference in the grandstands whether fans were allowed or not allowed last week. Exactly. The only time I would have noticed a difference is which I love this camera angle, the camera angle they use every year to show the checkered flag coming across. That'd have been the only time I'd have realized there was no fans in the stands.
Here's one thing I will argue about Indianapolis, and it's more about the facility itself. They want to market themselves, especially with Roger Penske, you know, as the new owner, as the motorsports capital of the world. In my opinion, you can't really be the motorsports market of the world if your sole race is the Indy 500. I know Indy 500, biggest race in the world. It kind of speaks for itself. But at the same time, you should kind of want more motorsports, and more motorsports, you know, want to go to your facility. So it shows, oh, yeah, this is where this is where IndyCar, NASCAR, F1, IMSA, whatever you name it, this is where they want to go. So that's why I'm a little bit reluctant to, you know, put Indy on the schedule. However, the racing's been piss poor. The attendance has been piss poor. Really, like the Gen 6, you know, maybe the Gen 7 will help. Who knows? Maybe they switch to the road course, which if you saw the Xfinity race, that's looking more and more likely. But, yeah, Indianapolis, I got that replaced by IRP, obviously.
There's definitely arguments for Indy. The from what I've heard, the place, for one, is immaculate. Roger Penske takes care of that place like it's his own child. And two, I mean, it's nationally recognized. It may be the most nationally recognized, internationally recognized racetrack in the entire world. From what that Indy 500 draws, me as an NASCAR fan has told multiple people the Indy 500 is the biggest race in the world. It overshadows Daytona 100%.
I went to Indy in 2018. I'll tell you, that track is.
Dude, one day we're going. It's a bucket list thing. I want to go to the Indy 500. I've never been to an IndyCar race, period, and I want to go to the Indy 500.
Neither have I.
And I'm telling you, there is arguments to keep it. I get it. And again, there's other tracks I'd be perfectly fine being off first. If you could mix in a better schedule with short tracks and road courses, I'm fine if Indy stays. The racing does need to get better. I don't necessarily think it's a crown jewel anymore from how the racing has been, but you know, I can see the tit for tat. And the history of the racetrack is also a good argument. Really, there's no other track you could argue that through besides Darlington or Daytona. You can argue the history of Indy and it'd be a legitimate point. But just to recap, give your 5, and then I'll give my 5 of who we're cutting.
All right, number 1, Indianapolis. Number 2, Kentucky. Please get off the schedule in 2021. Number 3, Kansas. Number 4, Texas. Number 5, Michigan.
All right, most of ours are the same. I've got Kansas, Texas, Kentucky, Sonoma, the shocker here, and Indianapolis. So we've got through that. Felt that was pretty good. We're about 35 minutes in. Let's make it quick. Who is going to win? Is it still the Quaker State 400 today?
Yep.
All right, who's going to win today's Quaker State 400? This is actually the 10th time we're running at Kentucky, I believe. So it's been that long since we've been running here on the Cup Series. It doesn't seem that. It feels like it's been 5 years. It's been like 10. Who is going to win today and why?
All right. The name of the game, track position. If you're not starting up front, there's a 90% chance you don't win this race. So I got the driver who's starting, I believe, second. I got the driver, the number 22, Joey Logano. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he is the last driver to win at Kentucky, because please get this track off the schedule next year.
All right. Well, to make a little presentation of who I am picking today, all right? I'm picking none other than Kyle Busch is going to win at Kentucky today. Kyle Busch, in 9 starts, has an average finish of 4.67 in 9 starts. He's won here twice. I've got his Cup stats up. Been here twice. Averages a top 5 finish. His last 3 starts are 5th, 4th, and 2nd. And not to mention, he starts on the pole today. He has not won a race this year. We don't know what's going on with the 18 car. This is the first time I believe he started on pole this year. Everything is getting handed to Kyle Busch. You've got the pole. You're the most talented driver in the garage. Nobody can pass you. This racetrack's a one-lane racetrack. Just win the race. All right? So Kyle Busch, not Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch is going to win the race today at Kentucky.
You have to turn the –
So,
all right, pretty solid pick.
There's only 3 drivers I would pick. There's only Keselowski, Busch, or Logano. That's the 3 that I synonymously think with winning Kentucky.
I think ones to watch are also Brad Keselowski. He's got the most wins at the track. Kyle Busch, obviously, is another one. And keep an eye out for Matt Kenseth. I know can't pass at this track, but he's got a win here at Kentucky. They're finally starting to use setups in that 42 car that cater to him and not Kyle Larson, which that's really been the reason why they've been struggling. So, the fact that he finished top 10 at Darlington, the first start with the Kyle Larson setup, is still pretty incredible. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that 42 car, even though he's starting at the back. He'll probably stay at the back with this, this atrocious racetrack.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on. Well, we appreciate everybody coming in. Definitely had some more viewers today than we've had. We're going to try to keep that momentum building, trying to share the links. If you guys see the link, make sure you share the link, get some people in here. We're trying to dedicate ourselves a little bit more to doing this every single week and coming up with fun topics. I'm sure we'll figure out something fun to talk about during the week. This week, I'm sure that we will, Armani would love to have just an hour-long discussion about how great Kentucky is and how we should keep it on the schedule, and it could become a crown jewel event on the Cup Series schedule. But
here it is. Here is my wet dream. Brandon Jones, Natalie Decker, and JGR Equipment. Brandon Jones is the Intimidator. Natalie Decker is in the Rainbow Flames for Jeff Gordon in a Toyota. And they're just on a 36-race calendar at Kentucky, and they sweep the season.
Fantastic. Anyways, you got anything else?
I think I'd lose my sanity if that actually happened.
You got anything else?
I ain't got nothing.
All right. Y'all have fun. I think Armani's got to go to work. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the race. I'll be tweeting, so y'all stay tuned. Appreciate y'all listening. We'll see you next time.